Welcome to another edition of Run It Back NBA. On the show today, the Oklahoma City Thunder beat the San Antonio Spurs last night in Game 2 of the Western Conference Finals, and there's two major parts I want to talk about when it comes to this game and kind of the adjustments that were made and what the Spurs need to do headed into Game 3. I think we saw this go in 7 games from the very beginning. Anybody that didn't was just lying. I feel like the fans making my mic sound crazy. I think we saw this go in 7 games regardless. So that's pretty much what's going to happen. But there's two major things I want to talk about when it comes to last night's game. We'll probably talk about Knicks Cavs a little bit. Game 2 tonight. Did James Harden get some rest? Is he going to look gassed in the fourth quarter? Is Kenny Atkinson going to allow the Knicks to target him one-on-one and blow a 22-point lead? We will see. And we'll do some clip farming on NBA Central. There's some Giannis Antetokounmpo trade rumors that I saw today. I want to talk about that a little bit. And a Q&A at the end of the show. There is a Super Chat goal on the show. I don't ever ask anyone for Super Chats, but anybody that does Super Chat, just know that donations are greatly appreciated. Either way, thank you for being here. Do me a favor, hit the like button. Subscribe to this channel for a daily NBA show. Who's in the chat? The Spurs are not going to win another game, and it's obvious what they're doing. They're trying to get under Wemby's skin and make him start throwing elbows. Okay, that's a ridiculous comment. Any comments that are not ridiculous? As a Thunder fan, injuries are ruining this series. Fox, Harper, J-Dub. We're going to talk about that. SGA was talking about the Spurs to calm down, not McCain. Pay attention. No, he wasn't. He said in his post-game live that he was talking to Jared McCain. In his post-game press conference, he said he was talking to Jared McCain. But that's normal basketball talk, bro. That's normal basketball talk. Here's the first comment. Shea, where are we at? Shea telling McCain to calm down is why they will not win this series. Bad juju. Come on, man. Disagree heavily. You know, I know you've played organized sports before. I know you've been in competition before. And if you have, this is a very normal thing, you know? Jared McCain was open at the top of the key. SGA was shooting over a double team. Jared McCain, being the shooter that he is, was yelling for the ball. You have to commend, first of all, Jared McCain's confidence to be yelling for the ball while the MVP of the NBA is handling the rock and getting into a mid-range shot. And SGA, as a leader of a team and the MVP, he has every right to just turn around and say, hey, man, calm the down. I got this. After he hit the shot, by the way. There's nothing wrong with that at all. That's total normal basketball stuff. Total normal basketball stuff. Wimpy needs to hit the gym. Okay, we're going to talk about Wemby. Hartenstein. The internet today seems to think that the fix is in, that the NBA allowed some very physical play to try to push this to a Game 7. I don't know if I'm really going to get into, you know, the NBA is rigged talk that I hear on the internet every day. But we are going to talk about the game. And it's going to be in 2 segments, I believe. So let's get into it, man. So let's get into it. The Thunder beat the Spurs 122-113 last night. And the San Antonio Spurs, in my opinion, have 2 major issues right now after watching Game 2. And this is going to be split into 2 segments. So if you're watching this, listening to this in shorter video form on YouTube, be sure to tune into the second clip from this live stream that will be posted also, where I talk about the Isaiah Hartenstein, Wemby defensive battle, physicality. Did the refs allow too much? We're going to look at the plays, all of that. But we're going to start with this. The Spurs' first major issue they're dealing with right now in this series is injuries. And because of those injuries, they're dealing with a player that has a massive turnover problem, and we'll talk about why, you know, Steph Castle's having those turnover problems. But the Spurs' biggest issue right now is, of course, not having De'Aaron Fox, their veteran guard, who they traded for, you know, before they even drafted Steph Castle and Dylan Harper. to be that veteran guard alongside Victor Wembanyama to space the floor. but a player to be trusted in high-pressure situations as a veteran NBA guard. De'Aaron Fox averages 2.4 turnovers per game for his career. And I believe that is below the NBA average. It's not perfect, but just to put it into perspective, a player that handles the ball a lot, we'll say Luka Doncic averages 4 turnovers per game. So somebody that handles the ball a ton. De'Aaron Fox only averages 2.5 turnovers per game. They have been playing without him, of course, at the top of the key because of his ankle injury. The second player they ended up without last night was Dylan Harper, who left in the third quarter with a hamstring injury. And Dylan Harper is a rookie, but Dylan Harper is very, very good at securing the ball and handling the rock in high-pressure situations. Much better than maybe any rookie I've ever seen, to be totally honest with you. In Game 1, he had 1 turnover in 41 minutes, and he really controlled the ball the entire fourth quarter of Game 1 and helped the Spurs secure that Game 1 victory over the Oklahoma City Thunder. And Stephon Castle in that game had 11 turnovers, which is crazy. But without De'Aaron Fox and without Dylan Harper, Stephon Castle's the only guard controlling the ball at the top of the key. And that is a disaster for the San Antonio Spurs. And if they don't get those two guys back, we're going to look at maybe if there's an update on Dylan Harper, but if they don't get those two guys back soon, this could get ugly. I want to talk about Stephon Castle and his turnovers because he has 20 turnovers in 2 games. That is the most turnovers in a 2-game span in an NBA playoff series history. But first, I have a couple points I want to make on the game before I get to that, because there's a couple things, I want to give credit to OKC a lot for the victory. Also, it's not just about the Spurs issues. Alex Caruso is still bombing threes. I wanted to shout out Alex Caruso because in Game 1, he dropped 31 points, and the Spurs won the game because Wemby went, super Scion, just 41 and 24 in Game 1. But it would have pretty much been a blowout in Game 1 if Alex Caruso wouldn't have dropped 31 points, and he's just not known as that level of a scorer. So I thought Game 2, Alex Caruso's not going to do that again. And no, he didn't drop 31, but his shooting numbers were still outrageous. He was 5 for 7 from the field and 3 for 4 from three-point range, 17 and 5. And off of the SGA double teams, it is massive for Alex Caruso to have morphed into a player that can knock down those threes. So shout out to Alex Caruso for the job that he's been doing so far in this series. And I wanted to say that Chet Holmgren did some soul searching. I think I saw a better level of aggression from Chet Holmgren in this game. He only had 8 and 8 in Game 1, but he was really just getting his ass kicked under the rim in Game 1. 13 and 4, but 5 for 10 from the field. But he had a different level of aggression. You know what I mean? And I just want to commend him for that. He wasn't backing down from the physicality. Now, he's still not guarding Wemby 1-on-1, which is he can't guard him 1-on-1. And you don't want to get Chet into foul trouble because he's one of your best players. You're going to need him down the stretch. So what the Thunder really did was go double big. And I was wondering if they were going to do that after Game 1, because Game 1, their strategy of, Caruso on Wemby and Chet Holmgren really didn't go too well. Well, it was actually a disaster because Wemby had 40 and 20. So you really had no choice but to go double big, and we're going to talk about that a little later, but I wanted to say shout out to Chet Holmgren for his level of aggression in this game and his refusal to back down from the physicality. I thought Devin Vassell's shooting was huge for the San Antonio Spurs because they could have died in really late in the game, and Devin Vassell was just hitting big three after big three, really keeping him in it. And of course, losing Dylan Harper really put the nail in the coffin for the Spurs. He's such a good player. He secures the ball so well. He plays so strong. He bodied Lou Dort in the paint. Let's look at Dylan Harper's injury here real quick. Let's look at Dylan Harper's hamstring injury. If you haven't seen it right here, he's just driving to the rim and lands and just grabs his hamstring right there. and he's grimacing, if you will. So that doesn't look too good. And hamstring injuries are tricky. They can be nagging. And if we look at Dylan Harper's numbers in game 1, and kind of look at what he had 24, 11, and 6 in game 1, and again he had 1 turnover in 47 minutes. I mean, that's just massive. That's just massive to lose Dylan Harper like that. And we could probably end the video right here like that. I think the Spurs are screwed. If they don't get Dylan Harper back soon, they might be screwed, or at least De'Aaron Fox back soon. You know what I'm saying? And that all turned into another Steph Castle turnover issue. He had 11 turnovers in game 1. He had 9 turnovers in game 2. And it's only his second year in the NBA. We're not gonna absolutely belittle or berate Stephon Castle. Players this age don't end up in the Western Conference Finals. He's actually the last second-year player to start in a conference finals was Tyler Hero in 2020. And so when you talk about that inexperience with the San Antonio Spurs, this is definitely one of the things that you talk about, and when you end up with Steph Castle having to control the ball the whole rest of the third quarter and the whole fourth quarter, it's not going to be good if he keeps turning the ball over like this. And the worst turnover that he had, the Spurs got it down to 5 points. And he looked off Wemby at the top of the key. Off of an offensive rebound, he looked off Wemby at the top of the key and threw the ball to absolutely nobody under the rim. And I started tweeting that Stephon Castle is being paid off and all of those types of things. But here's what we're going to do, man, for the second part of this clip right here. We are going to go watch all of Stephon Castle's turnovers. Let's do that, because we got to decide what's going on here. All right, here's turnover number 1, 14-12 in the first quarter. Steph Castle Oh, God. Steph Castle drives right, tries to make a skip pass with one hand, and just throws it right to J-Dub. That's bad. There's nothing else to say about that. The skip pass. No, this is the wrong clip. This is NBA.com. Put this in here as a Dylan Harper turnover, and it's not a Dylan Harper turnover. Or a Steph Castle turnover. It's not a Steph Castle turnover. Turnover number 3, because I don't even know what turnover number 2 was. Here's turnover number 3. Let's see. Okay. He tries to lob it underneath to Wemby. Watch Wemby and Alex Caruso right here. You got Caruso grabs his right arm. Still has position. This is where I think Wemby needs to be officials. He needs to be stronger against Alex Caruso right here. You can't just let him push you out of bounds. You know what I'm saying? So that one's not on, I believe it was his 9th turnover of the game. It was a bad one. Here's turnover number 4. Yeah, I mean, Dylan Harper cutting. I mean, he's open. You got to lead him. He just throws it. He just throws it right to Cason Wallace, and then the Oklahoma City Thunder are running a fast break. Let's see, turnover number 5 for Steph Castle. Let's see, turnover number 5. Here we go. Oh my God, bro, he's just lazy pass in traffic. That's a bad turnover. Let's see, turnover number 6 for Stephon Castle. Let's see. Here's turnover number 6, left side, Stephon Castle. He got fouled there, I think. Let's see. He does a little sweep through. Yeah, gets hacked on the wrist. We're not gonna. That one should have been a foul. He doesn't sell those calls as good as SGA does. You gotta dive on the floor if you want the call, man. And we're gonna talk about the Wemby Isaiah Hartenstein stuff, because it is what it is, bro. You gotta dive on the floor if you want the calls, man. Here's turnover number 7 for Steph Castle. Caruso, 1-on-1. Let's see. There he is. Step through. Oh, man. He's just indecisive right here. Look, I don't like the hesitation right here. Go right at Chet Holmgren. You know what I'm saying? And he had a poster on Isaiah Hartenstein in the beginning of the game. He needs to just go right at Chet Holmgren right there. If he blocks your shot, he blocks your shot. But hesitate. You let Caruso get back in position. Then you hesitate like 6 more times, and then you throw it right through Luke Cornett's hands because he wasn't expecting it. That's a bad turnover. Turnover number 8 for Steph Castle. Let's see. Jared McCain kick out to Caruso. Caruso drive. That's a foul. Okay, that's not a turnover on Steph Castle. That's NBA.com doing wonders again. And here's the worst one. Here's the one that was at the end of the game. Fourth quarter, a minute left. The Spurs get it down to 5. Big offensive rebound by Keldon Johnson right there. Kicks it out. 1 minute left, a 5-point game. Wemby's not only open, but also your job, your number one job on this team is to give the ball to Victor Wembanyama. He looks him off. He looks him off. And he throws it to John Cena under the rim. Why did he do that? Why would he look off Wemby? Why would he look off Wemby right here? Bro, you already have 8 turnovers. He looks off Wemby right there and throws it out of bounds. Yeah, I just don't get that. But yeah. Steph Castle is having a major turnover issues. And the Spurs obviously need to get De'Aaron Fox and Dylan Harper back in this series, or they are cooked. And again, the Dylan Harper hamstring injuries are nagging. They suck. They can linger for a long time. He looks like he pulled it pretty hard. I don't feel like you pull a hamstring that hard and just come back in and play 100%. Unless you're shuffling up and down the floor like OG Anunoby. You know what I'm saying? And another thing is not having those guys out there, Steph Castle or De'Aaron Fox and Dylan Harper. It allows this style of defense on Wemby. It allows Isaiah Hartenstein to play this type of defense on Wemby because you're leaving the paint wide open, right? You're pushing Wemby completely out of the paint, not letting him get anywhere near the rim. And that only works because you don't have Dylan Harper and De'Aaron Fox attacking the paint. So the Thunder can spread the floor defensively and not really worry about defending the paint too much. I feel like if you were going to spread the floor like that defensively and Dylan Harper was in there and healthy, he'd probably score 30 points a game, especially after what he did in Game 1. So the San Antonio Spurs have to get those players back. But shout out to OKC for the adjustment, and shout out to OKC for, winning Game 2 and tying the series up 1-1. The second thing I want to talk about is the adjustment that OKC made. After Game 1, where OKC did not really play Isaiah Hartenstein after the first couple of minutes. And I believe the thought process was that if Isaiah Hartenstein can't spread the floor, you're not going to be able to score whatsoever because Wemby's not going to leave the paint. And so after Game 1, I was like, how are they going to stop Victor Wembanyama? He dropped 40 and 20. He totally owned the entire game. And if they're not going to play Hartenstein, what are they going to do? Because Chet Holmgren can't guard him, and guarding him with Alex Caruso wasn't working. So I was like, maybe they go double big with Chet and Hartenstein, and that's what they ended up doing a lot of the game. And it worked. I think they played Isaiah Hartenstein thinking, he's probably going to get into foul trouble, right? But you'd rather him get into foul trouble than Chet Holmgren get into foul trouble because Chet Holmgren is a more valuable player on the offensive end. So I think they just threw Isaiah Hartenstein out there, like, go be physical with Wemby, go push him around, grab him, push him out of the paint, whatever you have to do. And if you foul out, you foul out. And he had 4 fouls in the first half. He had 1 foul in the first 30 seconds of the game. So I right when the game started, I was like, oh yeah, Hartenstein's going to foul out, bro. Absolutely going to foul out. But it ended up working. And we're going to show clips of it and kind of talk about what everybody thinks about the physical play from Hartenstein and how it affected Victor Wembanyama. But But the reason they didn't play him in game one was because, he can't spread the floor, like I said. And if you look at game one, where the hell did game one go? If you look at game one, which was on Monday, and you look at Isaiah Hartenstein, let's look at his minutes in game one. He played 12 minutes in game one, and he had 2 fouls in 12 minutes, and he had 2 rebounds. In game two, Isaiah Hartenstein had, how many minutes did he play in game two? 27 minutes, 10 points, 13 rebounds. Look at that offensive rebound number. 8 offensive rebounds. And honestly, he owned the fourth quarter. He had 5 offensive rebounds in the fourth quarter. You can talk about officials. You can talk about fouls. You can say he got away with playing very physical on Wemby and the game is rigged and all this. You can say all that stuff you want to say. The Oklahoma City Thunder absolutely dominated the glass in the fourth quarter. You can't give up 5 offensive rebounds to one guy in a fourth quarter if you want to win a basketball game. So I'm not going to go with the officials thing, man. I'm not going to go with they let him get away with too much physicality. They out-hustled the Spurs under the glass in the fourth quarter. I mean, that's just a ridiculous number. And the second thing is, after game one, I was talking about the Oklahoma City Thunder's shooting percentages, right? Because the game went to double overtime and they weren't shooting the ball well. And I was like, well, if they shoot better than 40% from the field, right, 17 for 45 from 3, they probably win game one. SGA shot 30% from the field in game one. He was a minus 15. He was 7 for 23. And it just felt like if SGA doesn't shoot the ball that bad, and they shoot a higher percentage, they probably win game one because they were shooting the ball terribly and it went into double overtime. Game two, 48% from the field, 13 for 36 from 3, so they shot less three-pointers in game two, attacked the rim more, shot more mid-range shots, and SGA went from shooting 30% from the field in game one to 50 in game two, 12 for 24, a plus 14, 30 points. So he didn't need Alex Caruso to drop 30 because he got back. They got back on their game. They also have 7 players in double figures. SGA 30, Caruso 17, Cason Wallace 12, Jared McCain off the bench. He only shot 28%, but Jared McCain was big time in some of those spurts, especially when they started double teaming SGA in the fourth quarter. Jared McCain's that guy. Catch and shoot off the SGA double team. What did McCain have in the second half? I feel like it was mostly the fourth quarter. Yeah, it was. Sick. He hit 2 threes in the fourth quarter off of the SGA double teams. Hartenstein 10 and 13. Chet Holmgren 13 and 4. And they got 10 points from AJ Mitchell. That's just way too much scoring. And if the Spurs are going to be without De'Aaron Fox, without Dylan Harper, and the Oklahoma City Thunder are going to get that level of scoring from their entire roster, the Spurs are in big trouble. Now let's talk about the physical play of Isaiah Hartenstein and what people seem to think about it. Here's a tweet by Bill Simmons. And we love Bill Simmons, right? Who doesn't love a Bill Simmons tweet, right? I didn't think Hartenstein was playable in this series. But if he's going to be allowed to maul and grab Wemby like this on every play, he should play 48 minutes. This is hilarious. Now let's look at a couple of plays because I want to talk about, I think, 2 things. Is it legal defense? Should it have been called fouls? But what Wemby actually has to do to overcome this. Hartenstein flops after grabbing and hooking Wemby. Foul on Wemby. Spurs had to use a challenge for this. They did have to use a challenge. And they challenged it, and it was overturned. But here's just an example of how Hartenstein was guarding Wemby basically the entire game, right? Pushing, grabbing, grab around the waist. Yes, it's a foul. Tony Brothers right here, looking right at it, doesn't call it. Now he turns, hooks Wemby's left arm. That's foul number 2. Not called. Wemby's trying to get free after he's having his arm hooked. And then he pushes Hartenstein off of him, who flops. And the foul was called on Wemby. Now, again, like 1 or 2 calls throughout the course of a game doesn't define the game, but the Spurs were getting away with stuff like this the whole game. I mean, the Thunder were getting away with stuff like this the whole game. This is literally their strategy on Victor Wembanyama. And what I want to say is, look, foul, you know, I mean, come on, man. Like, yes, these are fouls. But what I want to say is this. If you look, I watched Joel Embiid play basketball. I've watched Joel Embiid play basketball for 12 years now. Do you know what Joel Embiid will do? And this is sad, but this is the sad state of the NBA. Do you know what Joel Embiid would do if you walked up to him in the paint and pushed him like this? Answer in the chat, answer in the comments. Yes, he would throw his body onto the floor. And they would call a foul immediately. This is the sad state of the NBA. This is why players like SGA flop. This is why players like Joel Embiid flop. This is why they sell calls and throw themselves onto the floor. Because if you play ethical hoops, like Victor Wembanyama does, see, he doesn't understand this game yet in the U.S., I think. He just thinks I'm supposed to play the game the right way. If you play ethical hoops and you play it the right way and you try to players for selling the calls, because this is what happens when you don't sell the calls. You're trying to fight through contact, and the official might just see it as he's pushing you, you're pushing back, whatever. But if he throws himself on the floor right here, he's going to get the call. And sadly, that's what Victor Wembanyama has to do in this series. Because Hartenstein had 4 fouls in the first half. If every time he shoves Wemby just throws himself on the floor, Hartenstein's going to foul out in 30 seconds. So Wemby has to, it sucks, but Wemby has to start selling these calls. And we're going to look at that compilation of the SGA selling foul calls just to kind of show the difference of a player that knows how to sell a call and a player who, you know, thinks that he should fight through contact. I think we have another one here with the Isaiah Hartenstein-Wemby stuff first. Let's check this one out. Yeah, foul. Then he pushes back. Where's the one where he's holding his arm? Well, there's another one where he's holding his arm. But yeah, the sad truth is Wemby needs to sell the calls, or you're not going to get the calls, and that's how the game is going to go. I want to probably look at the SGA, little compilation of SGA flopping here, and then I want to talk about NBA officiating and what I think needs to be done to fix it. All right, this was posted by our good friends at Brick Center. You know how Brick Center gets down, right? And they said SGA flopped on every shot attempt. And it wasn't every shot attempt, but I want to watch it and kind of talk about the officiating in the NBA, what needs to happen. Let's see. I mean, there's body contact there, and he's trying to sell the call. Again, he knows that if he sells it, they might call it. If he doesn't sell it, they're not going to call it. That one this one looks really bad, right? And Tony Brothers calls the foul here. But if you watch it, technically he does get fouled on the elbow. All right? But again, if he doesn't throw himself on the floor to sell it, 80-year-old Tony Brothers isn't going to call it. It's a sad state that the NBA is in, that the player has to do that to make it clear that he got fouled. That's what I'm saying. And they need to find a way to fix this. The NBA needs to find a way to fix this. I don't know why he fell down right there. And I love SGA. I think he's an amazing basketball player. And I've watched him dominate fourth quarters this whole season. And he's incredible. But Adam Silver needs to get this stuff out of the league. And again, I'll say it again. I've said it a million times. The easiest way to get this out of the league is to rewatch every game and send the player a $50,000 fine every single time he threw himself on the floor for no reason. And just say, hey, we counted 6 times last game that you threw yourself on the floor for no reason, trying to create a foul that wasn't there. Here's a $300,000 fine. That'll stop. Bro, do you understand how fast that will stop this? Do you understand? I'm a fucking genius. Do you understand how quickly that would take flopping out of the NBA? The only way, bro, it's like disciplining children, right? What do they love? What do they love? iPads, iPhones, electronics, YouTube. If I take my son's gaming laptop away, that fixes it so fast. The only way to get adults to listen, why do you think there's a such thing as a speeding ticket? When it starts to cost you money, you're going to listen. You start sending players fines like that, that takes flopping out. That takes flopping out. Let's watch like one more maybe. Let's see. SGA drives. I don't know why that was even in there. That wasn't a flop. That's the old James Harden kick your legs forward to try to get the... Well, I mean, this isn't a flop either. I think he lands on Devin Vassell's feet by shooting a fadeaway, and that looks like a pretty natural shooting motion, to be honest. That probably should have been a foul on Devin Vassell, so that's not a flop either. Let's see. Let's see this one. I don't know. This one's bad, man. This one's bad. This is a Jalen Brunson stop, move away from the rim into the defender, create contact, and then fall forward. You got to get this out of the game. But again, the worst part is the officiating. If they stop calling it, it will go away. And if the NBA starts fining players for doing it, it will go away. I think my biggest problem is when I see a player doing stuff like this, I'm like, why are the refs still calling it a foul? That's my biggest problem. You know, you can see a flop from the damn nosebleed seats. The coach is screaming, the fans are screaming, but the official doesn't see it? Do you understand what I'm saying? How does everybody in the arena see it, but not the official? But anyway, look, Oklahoma City Thunder had a pretty great strategy to slow down Wemby. They basically put Hartenstein out there to be a headhunter and said, go fucking push him out of bounds. Go grab him, push him, shove him, and foul out of the game. I don't think OKC even knew that the refs weren't going to call these fouls. I think they had a clear strategy of a guy they didn't plan on playing in the first place to go out there and shove Wemby around and maybe foul out of the game. It just ended up the referees were letting them do that. Now, don't be shocked if it's totally different in Game 3. Because if you think the San Antonio Spurs aren't sending these clips to the league office and saying, hey, Victor Wembanyama's a superstar. He's probably the future face of the league. How are you guys going to allow him to be mauled like this the whole game? And now watch. Now watch. And again, 80-year-old blind-ass Tony Brothers, he's retiring at the end of this season. He doesn't know what the fuck he's calling in the first place. The NBA, it's there's a problem with players flopping. There's a problem with selling calls, but the biggest issue is officiating. If referees could call the game the right way, all of this stuff would go away. I think that's what I wanted to say. I think that's what I wanted to say. That's my opinion on all of it, man. What you guys think? What you guys think in the chat, bro? And then we'll go over to NBA Central and do some clip farming. I think there's some Giannis trade rumors. Oberon says, no, it's rigged. 29 fan bases saw Game 2 and been seeing OKC get preferred. It's not. Look. If the game was rigged, the LA Lakers would be in the NBA Finals every year. LeBron James wouldn't have the shit roster that he has right now. LeBron James in LA. LeBron James in LA. And he's only been to the NBA Finals one time in LA in 2020. You're telling me the NBA is rigged, set up for profit, and the biggest name in the history of the NBA outside of Michael Jordan, probably the biggest name in the history of the NBA if you consider social media and the day that we're in, LeBron James, plays for the LA Lakers. And they've only been to the finals one time in the LeBron James Lakers era. If the NBA was rigged, he would, what do you mean, bro? You know what I'm saying? And if the NBA was rigged, the second largest market, the New York Knicks, their last championship was in 1972. If the NBA is rigged, they're doing a terrible job. If the NBA is rigged, they're doing a terrible job. What I think is, because no, the NBA didn't randomly select the Oklahoma City Thunder to get favorable calls. That doesn't make any sense from a business standpoint. There's no way the NBA sat back and said, who should we favor and give all the calls to so they can win championships? Let's go with little old Oklahoma City in the middle of nowhere. Yeah, let's do that. And I'm not talking trash on Oklahoma City at all. I'm saying it doesn't make sense from a business standpoint. There's no possible way that's true. What I think is the Oklahoma City Thunder just happen to have several players who are on a James Harden level of understanding how to manipulate the rules to fool the officials. And it all, again, circles back to the same issue. The core, the root issue is the officials don't know what the fuck they're doing. Some of these are obvious flops, and the ref is like, beep. That's what I think, man. That's what I think. What else you want to say? What else y'all got in the chat, man? What else y'all got in the chat? The NBA is a pawn in a bigger rigged game. Oh my God, you guys are going, you guys are going full blown YouTube Illuminati conspiracy theories, huh? What are you gonna say, Dennis? Everybody needs to wake up. What's really happening is the Rothschilds and the Freemasons and the Illuminati and the secret elites are running the banks in the United States, and the whole thing is an underground scheme, and the NBA is a part of it. Is that what you're about to say? Talk about how Shaq was defended back in the day. Nobody could guard Shaq back in the day. He was guarded exactly like this. He was guarded exactly how Wemby. This is a good point. This is a great point. If this is the point you're trying to make, Shaquille O'Neal was guarded exactly like this back in the day. But Shaquille O'Neal was so big and so strong. I think easily the biggest and strongest NBA player in the history of the NBA. You've never seen a 7'1", 300-pound player with the sheer center of gravity and like mid power that Shaquille O'Neal had. He could just, I mean, nobody could guard him. Nobody could guard him. Your only chance of guarding Shaquille O'Neal was to try to step in front of him and draw offensive fouls, and that's what Dikembe Mutombo was doing in the NBA Finals. And so we can continue to go back to the same thing. Wemby has to be stronger. He has to be. If they're going to let Alex Caruso push you out of bounds, you got to be stronger. Or he has to start selling these calls, man. He has to start selling these calls. Just do what SGA does. Do what Chet Holmgren does. If you go up to SGA and push him like that, do you think he's going to push you back? Or do you think he's going to throw himself on the floor? Let's be honest. OKC fans, Spurs fans, NBA fans in general, be honest in the chat. If you walk up to SGA and shove him the way that Hartenstein is shoving Wemby, is he going to shove you back or is he going to throw himself on the floor? I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm saying it's the smart thing to do. If the officials... You know what I'm saying? Exactly. That's what I'm saying, man. Yo, shout out to 281 people in here. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for coming through. Do me a favor, hit the like button. Let's go over to NBA Central, man. We got some clip farming to do. Let's go. NBA Central. I think there's some Giannis Antetokounmpo trade rumors we might have to talk about. Let's see. Yeah, well, we're not going to talk about that one. Let's go to the actual page. Here. All right, let's see. To land Giannis Antetokounmpo. Let me know what y'all guys think about this trade, man. Let me know what you think about this trade. Now, the Milwaukee Timberwolves, the Milwaukee Bucks have still not said publicly that they want to trade Giannis Antetokounmpo. Giannis Antetokounmpo has still not said publicly that he wants to be traded. And a couple of weeks ago, Giannis Antetokounmpo was on a podcast where he said, I don't like LA. LA is a superficial town. And you know Giannis, he's from Greece. He doesn't do this. It's why he'd be happy staying in Milwaukee forever. He's really kind of family-oriented, really humble, down-to-earth, isn't interested in the James Harden lifestyle, isn't interested in being a famous celebrity in the clubs, hanging out with rappers, all this stuff. So he said publicly he doesn't want to go to L.A., straight up. He didn't say he doesn't want to go to Miami. He did say on the same podcast, Miami's a nice place. I don't know if Giannis even knows that Miami is basically just as superficial as maybe Miami's a tier 2, tier 1 LA, tier 2 Miami, and New York, at least during the playoffs, all the stars that live in LA come back to New York and act like they still live there. But Giannis said that Miami's a nice town. So this Giannis-Miami trade could be possible. It just depends how much the Bucks get back in return. Because remember this also, Giannis Antetokounmpo does not have a no-trade clause. And so the Milwaukee Bucks can trade him anywhere they want to. If they want to, right? And when you're talking about a player with at least the perceived value of this at this point of Giannis Antetokounmpo, and you're thinking about trading him to rebuild your team, and you know that trading him is going to be an immediate hit on your pockets, your ticket sales, it's going to be a major hit on the local economy around the Milwaukee Bucks arena. You know that trading Giannis Antetokounmpo is a major, major, major decision that's going to change everything. So the only way you trade him is if the return is enough. The smart thing for Milwaukee to do is to trade Giannis Antetokounmpo. Obviously, they have failed now time and time again to put a team around him that can win. They've made the wrong move after wrong move. Again, we can go back to Drew Holiday being undervalued and just thrown out like he wasn't a major part in the 2021 championship team. The smart thing for Milwaukee to do is to trade Giannis Antetokounmpo. Not just because they have no other options. They need to rebuild. They need to get as many assets back as possible. But also because you have a chance to fleece here. Giannis Antetokounmpo is 31 years old. He will be 32 years old at the start of next season. He has now been routinely injured. How many times did he get hurt this past year? Ankle, calf tightness, hamstring, you name it. Somebody who's 6'11", cannot shoot a basketball, relies heavily, 95% on his athleticism, is about to turn 32, and has had injury problems. Whoever trades for Giannis Antetokounmpo is taking a major risk because he's going to be up for a supermax contract. And when a player like Giannis Antetokounmpo, again, who relies so much on athleticism, when a player like that begins to age, his game, Giannis's game is not going to age gracefully, is all I'm going to say. It's not going to age gracefully. It's not going to be a James Harden, oh, he lost his athleticism, but he's still so skilled that he could still be a really good player for a long time, right? It's not going to be a Joel Embiid if he never got hurt. If in a perfect world, healthy Joel Embiid, right, his game would age gracefully because he's so skilled. Even if he can't jump, he can drop 30 on just mid-range jump shots and threes, and turnaround hook shots. When Giannis Antetokounmpo ages, it's not going to be graceful. It's going to be 32, maybe healthy, 33, maybe, and it might be like 34 and a half, bro. You know what I'm saying? It's not going to be graceful. It's going to be off a cliff. That's what it's going to be. And if you trade for Giannis, you're basically signing up for a new 4-year max contract at probably $65, $70 million a year. And so you have to, if you trade for Giannis, you are gambling on will he be healthy for at least 2 of those 4 years. So the Milwaukee Bucks need to trade Giannis Antetokounmpo for that reason alone. You can fleece right now. You can get a lot of assets back right now. It's on the cusp of value right now. And if Miami is going to give you this, I think you got to do it. This trade is from Bobby Marks on ESPN. Milwaukee receives Tyler Hero, Khalil Ware, Nikola Jovic, 2026 first-round pick, which is probably a decent first-round pick, right? Is Miami in the lottery? Hold up. Is Miami Heat in the lottery 2026? Miami Heat is in the lottery. They have the 13th overall pick. So you would be trading him for this year's 13th overall pick, 2031 first-round pick, 2033 first-round pick, and swap rights in 2029. This gives you a player right now. Now, maybe there's other trade packages out there with other teams that gets them higher in this year's draft. But again, I don't think teams are going to mortgage their future for Giannis Antetokounmpo as far as like trading the number 3 pick in this year's draft. I'm not trading pick 1, 2, or 3 in this year's draft for Giannis Antetokounmpo when he's about to turn 32 years old. I'm not doing that. I think Milwaukee would have to say yes to this. You get the 13th pick in the draft, and the Miami Heat 2031, 2033 first-round picks. And if those are unprotected, you're looking at Giannis will be 37, 38 years old at that time. You're looking at the Miami Heat probably being terrible in 2031 and 2033 and swap rights in 2029. And Miami is the type of team to make this trade, to try to win now. Because Pat Riley, as stated plenty of times by Pat Riley himself, we're always in win now mode. And it's come back to bite the Miami Heat in recent years because they never actually rebuild. They always try to win with a mid-roster. This is the team that might do it. I think it could happen. I'm not trading shit for him. I'm not either. I'm definitely not trading youth. I'm not trading future for him. But I think the Miami Heat might do it. Or the Celtics trade Jaylen Brown for him straight up. I still think the Jaylen Brown trade makes more sense. Let's look at a Jaylen Brown-Giannis trade before we get out of here. Let's look at a Jaylen Brown-Giannis trade before we get out of here. Let's see. Let's just type in Jaylen Brown-Giannis trade. See if we can get like a fake Jaylen Brown-Giannis trade where Jaylen Brown could land in a 3-way trade. Jaylen Brown could join Clippers or Hawks in potential Giannis. Well, that doesn't... I would think Milwaukee would want Jaylen Brown, right? Because that would kind of expedite their rebuild, right? What should terrify Celtics? Celtics trade pitch swaps Jaylen Brown. Why Celtics should not make a Jaylen Brown Giannis trade. Here's why the Celtics should trade Jaylen Brown for Giannis Antetokounmpo. The Boston Globe. Oh, fuck you guys, dude. I'm not paying to read that. I ain't paying to read that shit. Let's see. Celtics trade NBA offseason. What 10 Giannis trade contenders can offer Bucks? Let's go here and let's look at the Celtics. Maybe it's in here under the Celtics. Let's see. Golden State Warriors, Miami Heat, Boston Celtics. President of Basketball Operations Brad Stevens made it clear finding players who can get to the rim is an off-season priority. The Celtics have cleaned up their finances from a year ago. They have draft picks. Acquiring Antetokounmpo would almost certainly come at the cost of Jaylen Brown or Jason Tatum. They're not trading Jason Tatum. And Jaylen Brown has given them even more reason to trade his dumbass for all of this Twitch stuff and beef with Stephen A. Smith and all that. Brown is extension eligible. Brown's extension eligible, and he's already on a $300 million contract. Holy shit. Would the Celtics split up Tatum or split up? I'm supposed to say split. Come on. Come on, ESPN. Where's your editors at, man? Would the Celtics spit up Tatum? Split up Tatum or Brown if there's no assurance and Antetokounmpo will extend his deal during the regulars. Well, no, they wouldn't do that. He would have to agree to extend his contract. The answer should be a hard no considering Brown. Yeah. So the Celtics could offer Jaylen Brown is what this article's saying. And I think that's a better trade for the Milwaukee Bucks. Is it? I don't know. Y'all let me know, man. Hey, man. Thank you guys so much for hanging out. Thank you for tuning in. Before we get out of here, let's do this. Eastwood, Cavs or Knicks today? We need your thoughts. Your predictions are very accurate. My predictions are incredibly inaccurate. Almost, I would say impressively inaccurate. Cavs win tonight. Cavs win tonight. And the Cavs win tonight because Kenny Atkinson, even though he's defended his playing James Harden in the fourth quarter, letting James Harden get cooked by Jalen Brunson one-on-one and all that stuff in the fourth quarter of last game, blowing a 22-point lead, saying he was saving timeouts for some reason. Even though Kenny Atkinson said all of that stuff, I still expect him to adjust and change the defensive strategy on Jalen Brunson if that starts to happen again. I think he's not going to bash his own player. He's not going to be like, yeah, Harden was getting fried out there, bro. I should have benched his ass. Clearly, he's not going to say that, right? So I think he said what he wanted to say to defend his player, but I think his decision-making in this game will tell a different story if that starts to happen. And again, I'm the biggest James Harden hater in the world. But I actually didn't think his defense on Jalen Brunson was that bad in that fourth quarter. If you really watch it. Jalen Brunson was just cooking the shit out of everybody. A lot of it was contested shots in the paint. There was a switch with Dean Wade where Brunson just, a guy 6 inches taller than him, he just puts a floater over his head off the top of the glass. The guy was out there playing horse. I actually still put more of that on like Jalen Brunson was doing some black magic versus the Cavs defense was that horrible. So we'll see what they do, man. But Cavs are winning tonight. Cavs are winning tonight. That's what I think. Let's do some more Q&A for a couple minutes, man. Throw some stuff in the chat. Throw some stuff in the chat, man. I'm on a couple of coffee. I'm on a couple cups of coffee and a monster, dude. I'm on a couple cups of coffee and a monster, brother. I got to go to the gym after this, get all this energy out, man. What else we got in the chat, man? This guy is just a blatant Knicks hater. I just gave Jalen Brunson credit. I just said the Cavs defense was pretty good and Jalen Brunson was cooking the shit out of everybody. And your response to that is that I'm a Knicks hater. Make it make sense, man. Make it make sense, man. What is Joel Embiid look like he's been working in the coal mines all the time? Does that guy ever take a shower? All right, JD Will, this is strike 2, bro. Because when I first opened up the show, you had a really dumb comment. And now I go back to the Q&A, and here you are with yet another dumb comment. Strike 2, buddy. You're skating on thin ice, pal. We need Hard in the system to be Defensive Player of the Year. Okay, I don't know what that means. How you like your coffee, bro? Black. I like my coffee like I like my women. Why is... My son is mixed, by the way. Why isn't Donovan Mitchell touching the ball at all in the clutch? Harden just dribbles for 15 seconds for no reason. Donovan Mitchell was touching the ball in the clutch. Both of them were choking hard in the fourth quarter and overtime. He did have the ball, but I agree that James Harden... It's two things, I think, you know? I agree that James Harden was dribbling the air out of the ball. But I also don't think Donovan Mitchell was assertive enough in crunch time. And I also think Kenny Atkinson, man, he reminds me of Nick Nurse, man. Kenny Atkinson reminds me of Nick Nurse, man. He just kind of lets players do whatever they want. You know? There has to be more direction in crunch time. Donovan Mitchell has to be with the ball in his hands in actions in crunch time. You can't just let James Harden go out there and dribble the ball for 45 seconds every play. You can't do that. Do you use beard conditioner? No, sir. Water, beard oil, blow dryer, beard balm. Just water. Just water. And then once dry, oil, blow dry, balm. That's the secret, bro. I'm putting you guys on game, man. Yeah. Oh, all right, betting on the Knicks then. Yeah, if I pick the Cavs, you should probably bet on the Knicks. You're absolutely right about that. You're absolutely right. Hey, man, thank you guys for hanging out. Thank you for tuning in.